the official fashion consumer review agency for Singapore. We are committed to seeing if fashion companies do what they say.
This week's topic is fair trade, and we are looking into People Tree, the pioneer of fair trade fashion.
People Tree started in Japan. It started in Japan because at the age of 25, I turned up there, and being the green consumer that I am, I was looking for organic food, I was looking for fair trade food and product, and I didn't find very much. So I started something called Global Village, which is an environmental organisation and a social justice organisation. And come year 2, we realised that we actually had to develop a fair trade movement, and we have become the forefront very much of the fair trade movement in Japan. Well, we brought the initiative, People Tree, to the UK 7 years ago, and that was partly because we have a fantastic fair trade food movement here in the UK, but very, very few people that are doing fair trade in terms of handicraft.
People Tree's Code of Conduct.
Well known as some of the TNCs, for example Nike and Reebok, we were unable to find direct links to their codes of conduct. Instead, we found information on their producers and whether they were following the codes of conduct. The results of our investigation.
Research in the 4 areas and come to conclusions on each of them and whether or not they are being followed. The first, to support producer partners' efforts toward economic independence and control over the environment, and to challenge the power structures that undermine the right to a livelihood has been. They do this by producing handmade products and not using machinery at all. Our source, the British newspaper Guardian, says the garments are designed up to a year before they are due to hit the high street. This allows the producers time to create them using the labor-intensive traditional skills without being overworked. In short, this means that more people are employed, and for a longer period of time too, for example.
Basically, People Tree is a brand that would use fashion, the item, to empower as many people as possible. So not only would we use organic and fair trade cotton, we would also hand weave it, we would hand embellish it, we might use skills in the dyeing technique, and in this way we might be able to employ not one person for 13 minutes, which is the average length of production time of a garment today, but we might be able to employ somebody for between 1 day and 4 days. And what does that mean when you come back to the basic mathematics of the global economy that we live?
Another source, Scarecrow Organics, say People Tree believes that hand skills are essential to maximizing work opportunities in rural areas and helping people use their hand skills to escape from poverty through income generation for most marginalized, vulnerable people and communities. Another piece of evidence to support the fact that People Tree believes in handmade tools is that they work with producers who make use of artisan traditional skills. For example, in the rural areas of Bangladesh, artisan huts employ low-income producers, and they are paid up to 100% more than they earn in the commercial sector. And traditional hand skills such as hand weaving, spinning, block printing, and hand embroidery are flavored in order to maximize employment. See our source, Equa Clothing. In conclusion, the Ethical Superstore says People Tree actively supports 2,000 farmers and artisans through 50 fair trade producer groups in 15 developing countries. This basically means that they are reaching out to the places where they feel employment is needed most.
The second point, which is, in addition to fair trade premiums, People Tree provides grants and loans for social projects together with sister NGO company Global Village, is also upheld. People Tree have upheld this by continuous support to all their various producers, such as Swallows, where they have opened a nursery. send regular orders to Kambeshwar Technical School. There, over 100 students learn hand knitting, carpet weaving, and carpentry. Also, the profits of their garments, produced by Kambeshwar Technical School, are then fed back into the school to help support the nursery and primary school for the 240 students. The school also educates women in basic health awareness, vaccinates the children at the school and the nursery, and even has a home for abandoned children.
The third, People Tree is committed to a safe and healthy working environment for producers. It's one of the most proven points. However, we could find very few direct links to it. The main point of a fair trade community, one of the unsaid, yet extremely relevant rules, is that the producers are treated well, with respect and dignity. They are paid a fair price for the work what they do. This is mentioned specifically in the article on People Tree and Cocoa Eco magazine. They say basing the company on fair trade concepts of social justice, environmental protection, and shared equity. People Tree now works with 50 fair trade groups and producers in 15 developing countries. Also, by researching the different producers that People Tree is partnered with, we see that the employees there are being well treated. For example, the Bombaloo Project was started to help the physically disabled in Kenya. They are given medical care and housing. This is in addition to their income from handicraft production. They make jewelry for People Tree. And there is Agassi Garments, where nuns provide employment for disadvantaged women who are considered unfit for marriage by their parents. They have a very safe and supportive environment. ActionAid is a partner of People Tree. They share the banner fashion at a fair price. Both organizations aim to raise awareness of fair trade and how it treats poor people and marginalized communities fairly, meaning that everyone is getting the opportunities they deserve, and also a good deal. As you can see, People Tree has made sure that producers were the right ones. The ones I mentioned are some of them.
Code of conduct is also upheld. It is People Tree is against child labor and People Tree is helping solve the need for child labor. We know that they support Tara Project, one of People Tree's producers. Tara Project creates economic opportunities for local artisans and is a leading voice against child labor. Another one of our sources, Gayam, an organic product seller, says the same thing. Tara also addresses crucial personal and community needs such as vocational training, education, adult literacy, and, most importantly, basic human dignity. People Tree is against child labor in respect of the UN Conventions on the Rights of Children. The most obvious factor that they do not support child labor is that, of course, they do not employ any children. They also make sure that parents earn enough money, so they are not compelled to send their children to work, as is possibly the case before they join fair trade jobs. They are therefore enabled to send them to school, whether it be one supported by the fair trade movement or a separate local school, so that they are able to get a job in the future. There are many sources to prove this point. Firstly, there's People Tree's partner ActionAid. People Tree benefits thousands of marginalized producers. There is also the Cocoa Eco magazine, which speaks of how People Tree is part of the fair trade movement and how they pay a living wage, not a minimum wage. The last source is Guardian, which talks of the 30 to 100% increase in salary that the workers in part of the People Tree and fair trade movement have from their previous jobs. Our conclusion.
We say that People Tree is a very ethical company because of the results of our findings. All the claims that they have made have been confirmed to be true by other independent sources. For example, the fact that they support the KTS School by sending all their profits back to them tells us that they are not interested in making overpriced goods, tagging them as fair trade, and keeping all the profits to themselves. Also, the fact that they actually go to the countries where their producers are and train them in skills and also teach them about the global market. One of our other significant findings was that People Tree only gets handmade products produced. For example, instead of using power looms, they would use hand looms. This is relevant because this means that they are not interested in, as they call it, fast fashion. They are interested in sustainable fashion. Their aim is to give their producers sustainable jobs where they can plan their lives better, have an education, and be able to sustain their families. This tells us that they are ethical because it shows once again that they aren't interested in making a profit fast, and they aren't interested in mass production either. The last most significant finding of ours is the credentials People Tree has. It is an active member of the World Fair Trade Organization and the Fair Trade Foundation and Social Association, which is to do with eco-friendly products.
Our information is just slightly unreliable because we have not been able to find a balance of sources. Very few of them were from an objective point of view, as most of them only spoke of the positive aspects of People Tree. This probably means that the People Tree are following all the fair trade laws set by the World Fair Trade Organization because we are convinced that we have researched to the fullest of our ability and found nothing negative about them. As you can see, People Tree is a very ethical company. All the information we have gathered goes to show this. However, we must make into account that we have only researched a small sample of information, as we have only focused on the foremost relevant criteria in our code of conduct. However, if we were to search a larger amount of information, for example, the entire People Tree website, every single claim that they make, we may or may not come with different results. Therefore, by taking this into account, we should say that based on the information we have researched and the information alone, we have found out that People Tree is indeed the ethical company it claims to be. However, it is unlikely that People Tree is not that, regardless of if we were doing more detailed research or not, because if it had been exposed, if it had been found out that People Tree were doing something that they weren't, it would have been a big news topic, and in our research, it would have been a very relevant finding. However, we never found any such thing. Therefore, that leads us to believe that People Tree is indeed a very ethical company, and that the people who work there do their jobs for the benefit of the producers who work for People Tree, to do something good in the world. Our recommendations. We would advise you to buy People Tree products because they are a fair trade brand. Though the prices are high, you know they are going towards the right causes, and everyone involved is getting a fair share of the profits. Also, you know that these people are working in friendly and safe environments, and that they are not compelled to work there, but choose to. The clothes are organic, which means they don't harm the environment. You should support this company even though we are still recovering from the 2009 recession. Remember, though it was tough on the people living in MEDCs, it was a desperate time for people living in developing countries, according to the Coventry Telegraph. Another thing you can do is to visit their website, www.peopletree.co.uk, and see the list of other fair trade and organic clothing and food brands that they have listed there.